Both operating systems are free, as is most of the software that runs on them, and for the vast majority of people out there, either one will fulfill all your needs. So our poll of the week at soundbytes.org, that is Bytes with a Y, Francis would like us to remind you, is e-waste is coming. In a world where e-waste is coming. Your choices are, I'm looking at Linux, I'm looking at Flex, I'll just keep using it, I'll pass it to that brother-in-law I hate, I'll just chuck it. Who still uses Windows? And, of course, none of the above. So far, we've got 21 votes, and who still uses Windows is almost exactly half of it, followed by none of the above. One person will keep using Linux. Nobody's going to use Flex. But, yeah, I'm sure you'll have more to say about this, so give us, 22 votes now. So give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ, that's 966-5299, toll free, 1-800-790-0415. We've got, this is already a real problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we start out with a lot of conflict material and a lot of child labor material that goes into batteries and computer components. And now that's at the front end. And now at the back end, we just burn it and release all those toxins into the atmosphere.
Well, the other issue, which is going to be the biggest problem, is for major companies all of a sudden creating a budget and training to move all their computers from Windows 11.
You think they're going to do that? They're going to throw Windows 11 on the desk and say, here.
Right. Oh, this machine can't run Windows 11? Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and especially for some folks that have turnkey systems
Right.
that will only run on that, and it's going to cost them thousands of dollars more on top of the equipment to get the software converted so that will also run.
Right.
I think that's going to go over like a lead balloon.
Well, look, point one, Microsoft simply doesn't care.
How many companies are still running Windows 7?
Right.
Yeah.
Microsoft doesn't care. Windows 7 gets no support unless you're paying massive amounts of money for it. Windows 10 is going to be in exactly the same boat. So if you want to run an unsupported operating system that is not secure at all and every known exploit is out there, then knock yourself out. But don't call anybody, and this is Microsoft talking, don't call us for support, because we'll tell you move to Windows 11.
And that's where they're actually helping push more companies to go to Linux. Because it's...
Or Chromebooks.
Or Chromebooks.
Or Chromebooks, yeah. I mean, if it's up in the cloud, they put a server up in the cloud, they got a Chromebook, they can sit there and do everything through the cloud. Mm-hmm. Or if they go to Linux, which you can make it look like a Mac or a Windows box.
Right.
That people don't know the difference. They got their icons on their desktop. That's all they really need to know.
We've seen a lot of field service agents have already gone to iPads.
Right.
Instead of needing to carry around a laptop, it's even smaller and lighter than a laptop and does everything you need to. And
well, that's it. People don't quite... Look, we're going to get calls from the fringe people. And I don't mean that in the nicest way. We're going to get calls from the people who absolutely must have some program that only runs on a Mac or only runs on Windows. Please listen to me carefully. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the vast majority of people out there who mostly use a browser and an email program.
Keyword majority.
Right.
Not minority, majority.
Right. If you're one of those people who absolutely cannot live without Adobe Light something or whatever those programs are for photography or whatever, we're not talking to you. We're not. We're talking to the vast majority of people who use a browser and an email program, play a couple of games, most of them online, whatever that's all about. You don't need a Windows computer.
Chromebook will do it.
You don't need a Linux computer. You don't need a Mac. You can do everything you need to do with a Chromebook or a tablet. Many people can live with a tablet. Now, the thing about a tablet is that if you do a lot of typing of one form or another, filling in forms or whatever, writing, you're a writer, whatever, then yeah, you need a keyboard. That's still a reality.
Yeah, it'd be too hard with a tablet. Not
Right. But you can get a keyboard for a tablet
Yeah.
if you want. So
one right here.
there are a lot of alternatives to getting a Windows machine. And depending on what company you get your Windows machine from, it's cheaper because you're not paying the Microsoft tax. Alternately, if you take a perfectly good Windows 10 machine and put Linux or Chrome OS Flex on it, it flies.
Yeah.
It flies.
Ubuntu, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, you can set it up that it looks just like Windows. I've got the little button. I moved the toolbar down in the lower left-hand corner, so I can just click there, and I see all my programs that Ubuntu has. My favorites I've got out on the desktop that I'm using currently all the time, and it works great.
Yep. And it's easy enough to do. You can have multiple, that's called a panel, that thing that has the menu on it and the time and all. It's called a panel. You can have multiple panels. I have all my favorites on a panel on the left side of my keyboard, of my screen, because you've got more real estate left to right than you do top
Well, the
to
one
bottom.
nice thing, though, that I got out of, because I was getting so tired of Windows and going to Ubuntu, it forced me to look for other alternatives. And the one thing that was annoying me was QuickBooks.
Yep.
I love QuickBooks. I love it to death. But then all of a sudden, once you bought the program, they moved away from that, and now they're doing yearly charges.
Well, now it's even worse. They're getting rid of the desktop app, and you have to use a web app.
Yeah. Yeah, and storage.
And storage and annual charges.
Yeah.
And it used to be $100 and $200 and $300. Now it's like $650 for one user for 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah, so what I did is say, oh, the heck with that, and I wound up discovering through Linux Money Dance.
Yep.
And oh, wait, Money Dance works on everything. It works on Linux, Chromebooks,
Windows, name it.
Windows. It's a cross-platform, and it's been around for years, and it looks just like QuickBooks.
Yep.
And I paid, what was it? I think a whopping,
Round it up.
$50.
Yeah.
$50 for a lifetime upgrades.
Right.
Anytime they update the program because you've paid for it, boom, you got it. Otherwise, if you're just usually simple user, say for home or office, modest use, you can just download the one version and be ticking along, and it works just like the standard old QuickBooks.
Yep. And it's quite an amazing program, and there are lots of programs like that under Linux. You can find alternatives to dang near everything. In fact, there's a website, what is it?
Alternative.2.
Yeah,
There's a couple of them.
alternatives.2. Interesting. I seem to have, there we go. I don't even know what that was about. Wow.
Going crazy
Yeah,
with your keyboard?
alternative2.net. I knew it was something weird. Alternative2.net. And then you up in the upper right, there's a search box. You find an alternative 2. Mm-hmm. And in your case, you put in, and got Money Dance out of it.
Quicken.
Quicken. And you got Money Dance out of it. And it's easy enough to do. They have over 100,000 apps available. And about almost a million opinions about those alternatives.
And that's the other thing, though. I discovered with Ubuntu, and I'm sure it's whatever flavor of Ubuntu you want to do, there are hundreds of thousands of programs out there that are alternatives to the ones that you're using on your Windows machine. Or just like folks say, oh, on my Chromebook, I can't do this, or because on my PC, I got to run this program. Well, there are apps that you can download because Chromebooks do apps. You can go to the App Store and download stuff that'll do that. Whether it's playing music or working with photos, it can still do it.
Yep. there's again, if you are a professional photographer or a professional accountant, no, you probably can't use these things.
And you have clients you can build the expensive stuff too.
Right, exactly. But if you're 99% of the average human being, you can use these alternatives perfectly fine and do everything you need to do without ever paying a penny. I've said this many times when I worked at RIT. Of course, we were a Microsoft shop. We're a business school. We were a Microsoft shop, but I wasn't. I was an ex-Ubuntu guy, and I used LibreOffice, and nobody ever knew. I could read everybody's Word documents. I could write documents that Word opened up. It was perfectly transparent to everyone what I was doing, and that was not just Word, but Excel and PowerPoint as well.
And they had the one feature before anybody else, and that was being able to take a document and convert it to PDF.
Yep.
So you could send it out and nobody could alter it.
Yep.
Which it took the other companies a while to, maybe we should have that.
And one of the truly beautiful things that I loved about LibreOffice is that often faculty would come to me with a broken Word document. Whatever they did, it borked in the middle, and it was a real problem. So they'd bring it to me. In Windows, when Word, Microsoft Word, opens a document that's got an error in it, it just stops. It just throws up its hands. I can't do this. I'm sorry. LibreOffice, on the other hand, says, can't do it from here to here, but I got the rest, so I could bring back 90% of a person's document, which made them ecstatic.
And even if there's a hole in the middle, I got the front, I got the end.
Right, you're missing
get
2
everything
pages
it can.
in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that I can fix.
The Word will die if there's like one bit corrupted in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was as much as a word.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was an illustration. And so, they would say, I've got that picture. Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you. Go. And so, I often used, and of course now I will be happy to say it, but back then it was my deep, dark secret. Okay, I'll see what I can do, but I'm not going to promise.
Yeah, they did.
Half a minute later, I got it fixed, and 2 days later, I tell them I got it fixed.
You never promised a time date. So it's
laddie, you didn't tell them how long it really take, did you?
How are you going to keep your reputation as a miracle worker?
That's right. So it's there are a lot of alternatives that work just as well as the few programs you're used to, and many of them are 100% free. So there's no reason not to give those things a try. And there's also no reason not to give us a call. 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free, 1-800-790-0415. That's assuming you can unfreeze your phone. And I don't mean from anything electronic. I just mean from the temperature.
So I put it in the oven.
Perfect.
They said my computer was frozen, so I put it in the oven for half an hour at 300 degrees. That'll unfreeze it, right?
That's right.
Better than microwave.
Well, yeah, actually it is.
Actually, it could be because it could reflow the cold solder joints.
Right.
We used to take laptops, the motherboards. If they were acting up. Dan did this. He took it out, and we had this one tray, and set it in our toaster oven.
Yep.
Turned it on, heated it all up, put it back together, and got it to work.
Yeah, that happens.
Get the dead shorts or the cold solder. Solder.
We do not recommend this to everyone, by the way.
No,
To anyone.
What?
To anyone.
To anyone ever. That's right. But it can. Things like that can work. I think we talked about this last week. Somebody had this problem. Or sometime. Maybe it was Sunday night. Oh, and don't forget, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. We have our lounge, the Soundbites Lounge. If you go to soundbites.org/lounge, which is also listed on the website, you will see that we have a lounge where you can join in our conversation and ask questions or do whatever you want to do. We'll talk about all kinds of things. We do that. But first, we'll go to Gary from Rochester, New York. Hi, Gary. What's up?
Hi. I've got 3 quick things. The first one is I wanted to give you some feedback about advice you gave me a long time ago, and I can review it for you. I live in a condo. I was on the board at the time, the board of managers, and we wanted to be able to set up hybrid meetings. It was during the pandemic, and in my mind, the pandemic's still going on. And at any rate, a lot of people wanted to attend the meeting but not be there in person. And a suggestion you made was get a committee together of IT people or people who are just very hobbyists but know an awful lot. And I did talk to a number of individuals who gave us a lot of good advice. And long story short, what we decided to do was have Greenlight put in another Wi-Fi station down in this community room where we have the meetings, and just bought a big smart TV at a very modest price, and there are so few people who attend on the Zoom call that we can easily accommodate them by just making it a Zoom meeting. And now that the epidemic is abating a bit, more people come in person. But we solved it a lot more easily than getting a complicated hybrid system.
Right.
I got one quote from a very reliable company, and they came in with a proposal for $3,500, but we did better by just buying a big wall TV.
Business level video conferencing.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to chat with some people. It can be a little cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the model they had was it was off the shelf, and I told them, please don't do some big custom job because we may not even buy it, and don't waste your time. So they had an off-the-shelf thing that they took right off the shelf. It had been for a law firm with about 27 attorneys, and they were spread around the state. So they needed a quite elaborate thing, and that was $3,500, and we decided not to take it. But thank you very much for your advice, and we got off with a cheap TV and one more Greenlight Wi-Fi station.
Well, I'm glad that worked for you.
Yeah, $50 a month. So we did all right.
Good.
The second thing is, speaking of Windows and Windows 10, I opened my computer to updates and security, and they're trying to download a preview of a Windows 10 22H2. I'll stay on the line.
Yeah, stay on the line. This is we have to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, Gary from Rochester, and you. It is 29 minutes after the hour. You are listening to the longest-running computer show in the known universe. That would be Sound Bytes, right here on the Truly Great, and truly grateful to you that we, with your help, remain member-supported Jazz 90.1. See you on the other side.
Online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at soundbites.org. More with Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brad Siegel. Fire continues to burn following a massive train derailment Friday night in eastern Ohio. At a Saturday morning news conference, officials said more than 50 train cars were involved in the incident in East Palestine, a small village near the Pennsylvania border. It's unclear what kind of freight the train was carrying. No injuries have been reported, but there have been evacuations. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is postponing his trip to China. It comes after a high-altitude Chinese spy balloon was discovered flying over the U.S. earlier this week. It's now being tracked by the military.
I told Director Wong that the United States remains committed to diplomatic engagement with China and that I plan to visit Beijing when conditions allow.
China says it was a weather research balloon that had blown off course. Extremely frigid winds are sweeping across the Northeast. Roughly 15 million people are under wind chill warnings this morning. Power outages in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Brad Siegel, NBC News Radio.
Business dispute? Break bread, not heads. This is Sandra Tsinglow with the Lowdown on Science. When you have a disagreement with someone, it can help to hash it out over a meal. But does what you're eating make a difference? Caitlin Woolley from University of Chicago set up the dining table to find out. She had over 100 students role play as either a union leader or a manager. Their goal? Negotiate an hourly wage as quickly as possible. The pair of strangers took turns haggling pay rates over snacks. The fewer number of turns it took to compromise, the more successful they were. The union leader and manager were served either similar or different types of food. Salty versus sweet, for example. How did negotiations go? Those noshing on similar snackage found agreement almost twice as fast as those eating different food. Why? Woolley believes that sharing similar food preferences promotes trust between strangers. It helps build rapport for better cooperation, all without people realizing it. So next time, just say, I'll have what she's having. But the question remains, who's getting the check?
The Lowdown on Science is produced by LDOS Media Lab in partnership with the University of California Irvine Science Communication and 89.3 KPCC, and made possible with the generous support of the Fuse Family Foundation.
You've heard us talk about the Jazz 90.1 member card, but now there's even more reasons to become a member of Jazz 90.1. You can now explore exclusive dining and entertainment offers through the new member card mobile app. Easily search for benefits and redeem them right on your phone. Find the member card app in the Google Play Store or Apple Store by searching member card. Save big and support Jazz 90.1.
Jazz 90.1 Erie Canal cruises out of Fairport are back for summer 2023. 3 Jazz and 1 Blues cruises are lined up for you. For all the details and to buy tickets now, visit jazz901.org. But don't wait, as a limited number of tickets are available for each Erie Canal cruise aboard the Colonial Belle.
Are you thinking of adding a pet to your family? Greece Residents Assisting Stray Pets, or GRASP, is committed to reducing the number of homeless pets by placing dogs and cats into compatible, loving, permanent homes. For more information on how you can give a homeless pet a second chance through adoption, visit graspinc.org. GRASP, striving for the day when every dog and cat will live in a loving, safe, and healthy home.
I didn't know that the roots of wisdom teeth can lengthen and become entangled around the nerves in the lower jaw. My surgery was more complicated, and I had to reschedule my family vacation.
I had a cyst around my impacted wisdom tooth. I was referred to an OMS to have it removed. I was so worried. I wish I would have taken care of this when I was younger.
Some things get better with age. Your wisdom teeth are not one of them. Visit myoms.org to find an OMS near you.
And now, a check of your Jazz 90.1 weather forecast.
A frigid start to the day across Rochester, Western New York, and the Finger Lakes, but the winds relax. And even though we will have some lingering areas of lake snow, primarily northeast and southeast of Rochester, the day offers up some improvement with clouds and maybe a break or two of sun behind the mid-20s. Temperatures will actually rise here for your Saturday night with a mostly cloudy sky. And the whiplash begins on Sunday as temperatures take a turn for the higher with highs in the low 40s and a few showers by night. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently right now we've got cloudy skies, 9 degrees out at the airport and 14 degrees here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, this is Ray Seraphin. Join me Saturday mornings for the Polka Bandstand Show from 10 a.m. till 12 noon on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 35 minutes after the hour, we are Soundbites, and we have Gary.
Well, before that...
Oh, hold on.
Want to thank Rick Presley for the donuts.
Thanks, Rick.
Longtime listener. Came in this morning to get an iPad and bought us donuts.
God bless you, Rick. Thanks. We appreciate it.
Said he'd get a kick out of it if I mentioned it on the air.
Well, and well, you should, and we are honored and delighted. Thank you very much. And now let's go back to Gary from Rochester, New York.
Well, I'm sorry I can't give you any donuts, but I've got a few more questions.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Behind my back, almost, I have a Windows 10 computer, 22H2, and I was starting to say I checked update and security, and an update, a cumulative update preview for the NET network 22H2 has already downloaded, and I don't want it because I'm scared to death of any update preview because it's probably making me a beta tester, as you have pointed out in the past. How can I keep them from installing that? I'm at a point now where it says pending restart.
It's already installed.
Yeah.
And it wants to restart to finish the install.
Yeah.
You should be able to go into Windows Update.
All right.
You may have to let it finish installing first.
Yeah.
And then uninstall it.
All right.
And then there is a program called Never 10, written by Steve Gibson, for people who never wanted to upgrade to Windows 10. He has expanded it now for Windows 11, so you can freeze your OS at its current level, and you can control whether you want system critical updates, which you do, or feature updates, which you usually don't.
Right.
Right.
And I will post a link to that as well now.
All right, but thank you. For now, after the show, I'll go in and uninstall it. And the third question is relating to technology, not exactly to a computer, but our ISP, that is for my home, does also include a landline phone, which we keep. We're very old school, but this company is in this month is rather than having copper wire landline phones, they're really going to fiber optic. And the problem with that for me is that in the event of a power outage, I won't have a phone. We've got 2 battery-operated radios, but I'd like to have a phone as well. A tech from the ISP company said there is a charger you can buy that will keep your phone going for about 24 hours. Would you know what that would be or what?
There are a lot of what are called uninterruptible power supplies, UPSs, that are varying levels of power, right, or sizes of batteries is really the word.
You want 10 minutes or do you want 10 days?
Right. And so you can buy whichever one you want, and I'm assuming your phone sits in some sort of charger normally?
Well, yes, it does. It
plugs into the wall anyway.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so it would plug into the UPS, and the UPS would plug into the wall, and normally it would run just fine. And then if there is a blackout, if the power cuts out, then the battery it's like a laptop. If the power cuts out, the battery kicks in, and depending on what size you bought, it lasts for a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is.
And the other side of that is you also need to have a UPS on your routers. Your internet router, your Wi-Fi router, if you have a switch involved. So if your telephone router is next to your internet router, Spectrum will often have 3: telephone router, internet router, wireless router.
Right.
So you could have 3 boxes. All of those could be on a single UPS. So if the power in the house fails, that keeps working. And then your telephone handsets would need another UPS.
Yes, they would.
Or
wherever
each
they
one
are
would
in the
need
house,
its own,
right? Or keep
if you
one
got more than one.
handset in your wiring closet with the rest of the UPS stuff.
So at least in an emergency, you've got at least one phone that works.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to go to all that, you can pick up the cheap burner phones now for emergencies that you could, have.
Well, yeah, you can use your cell phone for
Cell phones,
for calls until the cell phone battery dies,
Right.
and then you can charge it from a UPS. So UPSs are really good to have for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, it sounds it. What I was worried about cell phones they are a radio signal, and they depend on the I don't want to call them aerials, but
The antenna, basically the cell phone tower. Yeah, so if your house loses power, but it's not that widespread an outage, the cell tower is probably still working.
Yeah.
But
And most of them have a battery backup as
Yeah.
well for 24 hours or whatever.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
But you may the last huge blackout, northeast blackout we had here, there was a lot of all circuits are busy. So the UPSs on the cell towers might only handle 100 calls instead of the 100,000 calls they normally do.
Well, and that happens in any blackout.
Yeah.
I know that at 9/11 I was in Philadelphia, and at the beginning there was supposed to be a plane coming down in Philadelphia, and was whatever, and so everybody was calling home to say I'm fine. Well, I couldn't get through to my wife and daughter for about 4 hours. But that's not because there was a blackout. That's just because everybody was calling.
Yeah, panicking.
Right. Okay, well, thank you so much, and keep up the good work. And I know you've got a fundraiser this spring, and I'll become a member again.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Gary. Bye-bye. And yes, you can join us as a member any time in the year. You don't have to wait for the fund drive, although many people do, and that's fine. You can do that right at jazz901.org and click the Donate Now button. And, of course, you can give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll-free 1-800-790-0415. And I will read, if I can get my hands to work.
One of the things that we've run into with UPS is they typically will have a lead-acid battery.
Yes.
Because that's more...
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper, and efficient isn't the right word, but it doesn't have the issues of lithium batteries in
the dendrites when you overfill it
right.
and all that nonsense,
But sometimes, especially an inexpensive UPS, for $100 you get a decent UPS that will power your equipment for 15 or 20 minutes, enough time for you to shut it down.
Right.
When the battery dies after 4 or 5 years, it's like $80 for a new battery.
Right.
So you often end up just getting a whole new UPS, because then you get a new warranty and you get all whatever new features they've put into them.
I had to buy a new UPS because the old UPS, I could not get I bought a new battery for it, could not get it into the case. The way the very thick cables were, I couldn't do the origami.
Vaseline?
Even that. I tried. Don't think I didn't try it.
Sometimes what you can do is with a heat gun, soften them up and
or soften the wall of the UPS so you can spread it out.
Yeah, right.
No, you can literally heat up the cabling and make it more flexible. We have to do that quite often with some of the cabling that I use.
Yep. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Ed from Henrietta, New York. Hi, Ed. What's up?
Well, hi, gentlemen. I just want to ask you a question if you think something's wrong with my phone or it's the website. I've been trying for about a week to subscribe to the year's supply of NPass, and I click on everything. I do everything right. I come to the subscribe page and hit the subscribe link. Nothing happens. It freezes. So I sent them 2 emails, and I got 2 work orders back. Oh, yes, we'll get back to you in a couple of days. That never happened. And I called somebody, and I got, his name is Vishnu in customer service, and he gave me his email address, and I told him what happened, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we'll get on it right away. Nothing. So I don't know if it's my phone or if there's something in their website that won't let them take money, which is weird, if you wanted to subscribe. So I just wanted to see what you thought.
No, I think it... well, I certainly know that in general, they will happily take your money.
And you can go to their webpage on a computer and subscribe too.
Right. As opposed to doing it through your phone. So you might try that. I don't. What phone do you have?
I got an Android number 9. But this is the first time I haven't been able to subscribe to anything, and I just.
It wouldn't be Android's. You have to buy it from the subscribe inside the Play Store.
Well, right.
Versus subscribe from inside an app.
Right. Yep. I did that. I got their app up and everything, and everything clicks off fine, and it gives you the options. And it's the first year's like $1 a month. I said, gee, how can you go wrong on that?
Right.
And they got a lot of bells and whistles in there, which is nice. And you come to it's bizarre because usually they'll tell you to bang, it'll take it right away. They have my card in there, but it's an old MasterCard. The 4 digits are different, but there's an arrow you can click on that, and you can usually change, like a Walmart or whatever, change your card number if you get a new one. This one just freezes when you come to that. Whether you click on the card number to change it or hit on the subscribe button. It just, so I told them about it, and the guy said, we'll get on it right away, et cetera. And they sent me a couple of responses back with work order numbers, and that was a week ago. And, I'd make another one, but I'd just get another work order, and they just maybe real busy. But I thought, gee, a company that has problems like that, you'd think they'd jump on that right away.
It may not be widespread, so that may be hard for them to track down why yours isn't working when millions of other people are.
Right.
You may want to go on the NPAS website. They have a discussion forum you can log in to and ask questions, and you can even subscribe to the subscription on their webpage.
Now,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you go to do it and they give you the wrong password, the wrong credit card, is that coming from NPAS or is that coming from your Android phone?
No, when you go into their link to the Play Store to do it like they tell you to, you can click on everything goes fine until you come to the end and subscribe as agree to their terms, et cetera, cookies, whatever, and then you come to the last page, and when you pull it up, all it wants you to do is hit the subscribe button. So I thought, well, maybe I'll hit the subscribe button. I can change my card later, and get the right card number. So if it goes through, they kick it out, and say, well, we can't, blah blah blah.
Well,
but no, this won't do nothing. It just freezes.
What you might want to do is in the Google Play Store, you can set your credit card, and what it sounds like is you've got an old credit card set. So if in the Play Store you go in and set the new credit card, then when you go to buy NPAS, it will use the new credit card.
No, that might. Yes, I see. Because the new one, the old one's already in there. So it normally that's happened before, and I think Walmart had one. And
right. But every company is different. So if you set the correct credit card in Google Play Store, then it should work just fine for NPAS.
So I've got a Chromebook, and I might try it on that because I've been doing everything through my phone. It's more convenient.
Sure.
I'll try it through the Chromebook to see if that might help. So yeah, that's a good point. I'll go into the Play Store and see. So when you open up the Play Store, would that be on NPAS's page where you can change your
No,
card?
that's in the Play Store itself on the Google Play app.
And there'd be an account settings, and under that should be a payments option.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I just opened up the Play Store on my phone, and you no, not now. Thank you very much. You should be able to click on your face, and then take that down to payments and subscriptions, and payment methods, and remove your
old
card and put in your new card.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. And then this is a stupid question. But that's safe and everything with the lock and whatnot. It's that's part of their
and it's
safe.
And it's as safe as the password you have for your Google account.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want that to be good.
I'm with you. Good. Okay. Good. It's a good idea. I'll try it. Thanks for your help now.
Yep. Thanks. Yeah. The issue with so many of these things is there's multiple places where you can put this stuff, and you have to get the right one.
And that's what might be causing his error, because it's trying to process the old credit card, and it's coming back.
But then he should get an error message. It shouldn't just
He
stop.
should, but does it always mean, Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, I think if he gets his new it makes sense to take your old credit card out anyway.
Yeah.
Whether that is the solution or not, but that's the way to do it. And
Quite
then-
often, if that's the default,
Right.
it's trying to do it and go its merry way, and evidently, MPAS can't handle it.
Right. And so if that's the issue, this will solve it.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't solve it, then he's right. He should go to his Chromebook and do it all through the web interface, where it will ask him for his credit card and he can give it the new one, and then that should be fine.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a whole issue there with where is the error being generated, and it's really not being generated by NPAS. It sounds like in this case. It sounds like it's actually being generated, the error is being generated by Google Play, having the old credit card. So that should fix it. All right, I think I will read this story. There are a lot of stories these days about AI, artificial intelligence, and how it's going to ruin everything from teaching to news. And like everything else on the internet, much of it is scary, much of it is wrong, and some of it is dead on. OpenAI's ChatGPT, one of the best-known AI text generators, just set the record for the fastest-growing user base in history, an estimated 100 million active monthly users in a mere 2 months. By comparison, TikTok took 9 months to reach 100 million monthly users, and Instagram took about 2.5 years. Teachers note that any student can use ChatGPT to write papers, and CNET has revealed they've been using ChatGPT for months to write some of their news articles. For those of you who are curious, I use ChatGPT to write several blog posts about tech subjects. You can read the absolutely unedited results at asknick.com/blog. And all you need to use this is a ChatGPT account, which so far at least is free. And you'll see that those are not bad. Not bad at all. And like I said, I did no editing. I just put them up as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft said it plans to integrate various OpenAI technologies throughout its product lineup, but one entrepreneur has already put ChatGPT into Microsoft Word, and he's eyeing additional Microsoft products next. This add-in for Microsoft Word, called Ghostwriter, allows users to query OpenAI's ChatGPT in a Word sidebar and watch content generated by the natural language chatbot unfurl directly in the document they're drafting. It's gotten a blessing from Microsoft, and Ghostwriter is already available inside the Office add-in store. Comes in a basic edition, $10 one-time fee, that offers all available, that uses ChatGPT and limits responses to about 2 paragraphs, and a Pro edition, $25 one-time fee that offers all available OpenAI language models and a configurable response length. Users also need that free OpenAI account for an API key to make calls to the OpenAI service. Google just unveiled an AI program that generates music from text descriptions. It's called Music LM. A user enters a short phrase into the system that describes the music you want, including different music styles, instruments, or other existing sounds. For example, a continuous calming violin backed by a soft better voice and music quality. It's not available to the public just yet, but the samples available so far are pretty interesting. In fact, there's a whole slew of AI apps available for a variety of things. You can see a bunch of them at futuretools.io. So are you interested in AI? Give our live crew, as far as you know, a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 1-800-790-0415. Yeah, I used ChatGPT to write a series of tech articles, blog posts rather, and the results are actually pretty doggone interesting. They're not 100%, but I wrote a half a dozen blog posts.
How much training did you have to do for it?
None. It's all done. It's all done for you. So I went in and said, write an article to the level of an 8th grader on X, or write a level to the a blog post to the level of a tech expert on Y. And you say, and you can say, include these points or whatever you want to do, and off it goes. We had a discussion about this last week or the week before, either in the Soundbites Lounge or the Ask Nick Lounge. One of our listeners is a writer, and he was saying, it's going to take over. I said, well, it's going to be a long time before it takes over. But what's really interesting is I know a number of people who are using it as a writer's block fixer. So you're writing, you get writer's block. You think you're looking at that empty page and you say, what do I want to write next? And you can say to ChatGPT, give me 10 ideas for a short story, a science fiction short story about first contact. And it'll give you 10 ideas and you can think, oh, that one sparked something in me. I've broken my writer's block. I can write that. So even
like
if
a Kickstarter.
Like a Kickstarter, it doesn't have to do the writing for you, but it can help you, get things going.
There was something kind of similar in the audiobook world a few years ago, where audiobooks have been traditionally read by voice actors.
Right.
And there was a big thing for a while where some of the OSs added a text-to-speech option. So you could have your book read, so you could get the textbook and have it read by the OS. And so one of the large electronic book companies intentionally disabled that in their app.
Right.
And so there was a kind of a mess that went through the Authors Guild and whichever the union is for voice actors versus screen actors. And I remember Will Wheaton did a blog entry about he read a passage with the passion and enunciation that a voice actor would do versus the same passage by the robot in your phone, and it was just horrible. And most people wouldn't use the robot in their phone, but for some people, especially in the blind community, that's their only interaction.
Yeah. Right. If you listen to, for example, Stephen Fry or Jim Broadbent reading the Harry Potter books, and then you listen to the robot do it, it is a very, very different experience.
The robots are getting better.
And I can still tell, however, when, for example, a YouTube video is being read. Oh, I hate it.
Especially the bad robot.
I stop listening. I don't care how good the subject matter is. I don't care how interesting it is. I cannot listen to it.
And if it's just reading the subtitles that are on the screen, I can read that myself. I don't need you to horribly read it for me.
Right. But AI is getting better, and there are a lot of uses for it that don't involve plagiarism or stealing or any of that nonsense. All right. That music tells us, and I got to tell you, those future tools, we'll talk about those when we come back. That music tells us that we are done with the first hour of this show. You have wasted an entire hour of your life with this nonsense, but I know you. You're not that smart. You're ready to do it again. So don't go away. We'll be back in just a few minutes with a whole lot more of the longest running computer show in the known universe. More Dave Enright, more Steve Ray, way too much Nick Francesco, and you. It is 59 minutes after the hour. We are the longest running computer show in the known universe. That means we are Soundbites, right here on the Truly Great, and truly grateful to you that with your continued support, we remain solely member-supported Jazz 90.1. Take that quick bio break, but remember to come back. We'll be back in just a few minutes with a whole lot more Soundbites.
It's America's longest-running computer show. Back to more Soundbites with Nick, Dave, and Steve. Next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
WGMC Greece Rochester, a public service of the Greece Central School District. Jazz 90.1.
On Facebook at Jazz 901 FM.
NBC News Radio, I'm Julie Ryan. The Pentagon says a second Chinese spy balloon is currently moving across Latin America. Correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer said details on the balloon out of Beijing are few and far between.
China also isn't saying who the balloon belongs to. They're saying it isn't military, but they're not saying why it was launched.
The news comes as the first balloon, which the Pentagon said doesn't pose a current threat to the U.S., continues to move over the central part of the country. Nearly 20 million people living in the Northeast are under wind chill alerts. Forecasters say a polar vortex sitting directly over Maine will create wind chills of 30 below zero in some parts of the region. Americans' confidence in law enforcement is hitting a low following the killing of Tyree Nichols by Memphis police. A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows just 41% of responders said they're confident police treat white and black people equally. Julie Ryan, NBC News Radio.
Now you can explore Rochester and surrounding areas with a member card as your guide. When you make a gift of $90.10 or more, we'll send you a Jazz 90.1 member card. Then enjoy savings at hundreds of restaurants and attractions near you. So what are you waiting for? Call and become the newest member of Jazz 90.1 today. 966-5299 or online at jazz901.org.
Greece Athena High School Music Theater is proud to present Anastasia, a new Broadway musical. Performances take place on February 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Greece Central Performing Arts Center. Tickets are available online at showtixforyou.com or at the door. For more information, you may visit greececsd.org.
Here's another I Love New York travel tip.
Valentine's Day means that love is in the air, and New York State offers the perfect setting for a memorable romantic getaway. From a spa retreat at a mountain resort in the Catskills to a honeymoon in Niagara Falls, romance and New York State go hand in hand. Go on a romantic wine tasting excursion along the Seneca Lake Wine Trail in the Finger Lakes and cozy up with a glass as you both take in the beautiful New York landscape. Or spend a dreamy weekend at Lake Placid Lodge in the Adirondacks, rated a world's best hotel by Travel and Leisure. You might choose to have dinner at the romantic Tavern on the Green in New York City's Central Park. Enjoy a blissful stay in the Hudson Valley at the historic Terrytown House Estate, or reconnect and unwind with a getaway at the Inn at Lake Joseph in the Catskills. For more ideas on romantic getaways in New York State, visit the I Love New York website at iloveny.com. New York State, come be a part of it.
I'm Ben Affleck, and I want to thank you for joining me and supporting Paralyzed Veterans of America.
I joined the Navy to serve my country. While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open, and I broke my neck.
Thanks to PVA, paralyzed veterans are getting specialized medical care and treatments, the jobs they want, and the accessible vehicles and homes they need.
I just don't think my family would be as happy as they are without the support that I received from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Learn more at pva.org.
Did you know that HIV is still a problem in the U.S.? Did you know that HIV is not the same as AIDS? Did you know that when HIV is undetectable, it is also untransmissible? Did you know that 21% of new HIV cases in the U.S. occur among those ages 13 to 24? Now you know. Get the facts about HIV and get tested. The Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation can help you find free, fast, confidential testing near you at etaf.org/resources.
Unused prescription opioid pain medicines can spell trouble. They can spell risk if taken by someone they weren't prescribed for, harm if accidentally taken by a child or pet, or overdose if they're not used as directed. Safely dispose of opioids before they can hurt your family. Find a drug take-back option such as medicine drop boxes. You may find these in your community at local pharmacies or police stations. Visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Welcome back to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes, on member-supported Jazz 90.1. Get online now. Call 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll-free 800-790-0415. Or submit your question by email at soundbytes.org. Once again, here's Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 5 minutes after the hour, we're hurtling headlong into the second hour of the longest-running computer show in the known universe, Sound Bytes, right here on member-supported Jazz 90.1. And you can give us a call, Excuse me, man, I don't remember eating that. 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 1-800-790-0415. And in the meantime, I will read some news. Grandfathered in Legacy G Suite users got a scare recently when another new transition message started popping up in the Google admin console. The transition to Google Workspace has started, said the new message that suddenly appeared in people's accounts. This was after Legacy G Suite users went through a contentious transition last year, where Google's opening position involved shutting down their accounts if they didn't start paying, but eventually it was talked into not doing that. A Google spokesrobot said that the Workspace transition message this time was a bug that surfaced an old banner from earlier in the process last year, and our team is working on removing it. More changes are not happening at this time. And those who previously opted in for personal use are not expected to take any further action. So calm down, everybody. It's just a bug. I know that's a shock. That's great because Legacy G Suite users have gone through enough already. To recap, Google currently offers businesses the option to pay a monthly fee for a Google Gmail account that ends in a custom domain name instead of @gmail.com. So you could have, Fred at fred.com. Today, this is called Google Workspace, but due to Google's constant rebrands, it was first called Google Apps for your domain, then Google Apps, and then G Suite. Google's custom domain, but now it's Google Workspace. Google's custom domain service was not always paywalled and not always exclusively aimed at businesses. It was free from 2006 to 2012. Google even pitched these accounts to families as a way to let everybody have a similar email address. Some people did so, which means today they are getting a paid service for free. Last year, Google's accounting department turned its eye of Sauron on these long-term users and threatened to take away their nearly 16-year-old accounts if they didn't start paying a business rate for these formerly free and not necessarily business accounts.
Like $7 per month per user.
Right. After a public outcry, Google eventually left these Legacy G Suite accounts alone after making users confirm that they were using their accounts for non-business purposes. After that, everything was settled. Until this new message that popped up yesterday suggesting they would have to move to another new service. Even though Google says it's an error that users could see this message, actually following the prompt would lead you to another error message about Google Workspace for personal use, which is a product that doesn't even exist. Workspace has tiers like Business Starter, and grandfathered in users are using the Legacy G Suite, but Workspace for personal use is not a thing. Yet, at least. Maybe this is, right.
What's coming.
Right.
Over
Apparently,
the
this was all beta branding for the original plan last year, and somehow it all got published again this week. So calm down, citizen, and put down those torches and pitchforks. Still up in arms? Give us a call. Not that we can do anything about it. Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ.
Well, it doesn't mean that it could be-
966-5299. Toll free 1-800-790-0415.
It doesn't mean that there still couldn't be something coming on the horizon that, they're just maybe, accidentally on purpose, it got leaked out.
Right. That's certainly a possibility. But at the moment, at least, that error message is not true.
Well, so many places are trying to come up with creative ways to make money.
Right.
Because every place is trying to do cutbacks. In all phases of business and everything else, it's poor times right now.
Right.
With prices going up high and everything else.
Well, let us remember that because these are publicly traded companies, we are not the customer. The shareholder is the customer. Yep. We are the product. And the customer wants more revenue.
But you think to get more revenue, you would make happier customers to get more customers.
The customers are happy.
Yeah.
We're the product.
Right. So to get more people paying for Google services, they should make people happy to get them.
You would think.
Yeah.
But the problem is there are so many free services now.
Yeah.
I can get a free account anywhere. I can use all kinds of different free software to write and compute and add things and whatever it is, create presentations, all of that stuff. Why would I pay any one company for that if I am a casual user? Yeah, if I'm a business user and my whole business is doing stuff and we can get into the the real business stuff that Google does in terms of things like workspaces and all that, that stuff, then great. Pay for it. You're a business. It's part of your business expense. I get that.
Yep.
But when it's just me or just, me and my family, why would I pay for that when I can get 99.9% of that for free?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the problem they have.
And because it used to be free and now it isn't anymore, that's really upsetting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. That sounds like bait and switch.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is James from Rochester, New York. What's up, James?
Oh, hi. My question is about battery life. I have a very good Dell laptop, about a year and a half old, and I'm just starting to notice that the battery life, obviously when I unplug it and take it in the other room, is slowly not as long as it used to be. How long does a normal battery last on something like that before I should consider replacing it or getting a spare?
Depends on your usage.
And there's no real such thing as a normal battery.
Yeah.
Most of Apple's batteries are rated for 1,000 recharge cycles in 5 years. 3 years. So that's about charging it once a day. Gives you that 360 charges a year. But every manufacturer is different, and the size of the battery is different on how many charge cycles it can take. There are programs you can get that will tell you the charge capacity of your battery, because that's sort of the key factor. That when you get a battery, it has a charge capacity of 100%, and say it lasts for 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 years later, 100% charge only lasts for an hour because the charge capacity is down to 10%.
And it also depends on what he's doing with it. If you're
how much
using it for
discharges
gaming
and-
or,
that'll just discharge it faster. But generally, 3 to 5 years is pretty common for a laptop battery life.
Yeah, 2 years. It's just, I notice it's slowly not as much.
Yep.
I unplug it every day and use it for a couple hours, and then obviously I recharge it every night like that. I'm going on 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, so I will slowly see it not as much.
Right, and that's the way the lithium-ion batteries work, is that they slowly lose their capacity, and so the 100% of charge is lower and lower time. We get people come in, well, my battery said it was 100% charge, but it lasted 5 minutes, because that's what 100% is now.
Right.
Yeah.
That they are beginning to discover that one of the problems with batteries, lithium-ion batteries and many others, as a matter of fact, is that when you charge them to 100%, there's a thing called dendrites that happen. And dendrites are basically little bits of gunk that accumulate on either the anode or the diode, I forget, the one end or the other of the battery. And eventually that's what drives the battery capacity down. You get more dendrites.
And they eventually touch from the anode to the cathode,
Cathode.
causing a short circuit,
Right.
Which then reduces the storage capacity.
Right. You can help that by only with a new battery, not with an old battery, but with a new battery, if you only charge it to say 80%, the dendrites either don't form or form much smaller and much more slowly, so you get more life out of that battery. That's why there are a lot of phone programs that will notify you that you've reached 80%. That's why a lot of electric car batteries have a thing that says only charge it to this extent.
And some companies are building that into their charging system. So I've seen a couple of new batteries I get from Apple, and it says it's at 110% capacity because it's rated. It has more than it's rated for, so that when you get to 100% charge, it isn't really 100% of charge. It's just people like seeing that 100% label on their computer, so you're not overcharging it all the time.
Yeah, I've heard that also. I'm thinking of buying a spare just to have. Would you recommend I get this from Dell, the original type battery, or a secondary company that, if there's somebody better, I don't know.
Well, if you're going in another room, why don't you just plug it in another room?
Yeah, I should do that, but
and just use it off battery when you're going actual portable, into, say, taking it out to go to the library or, out to a coffee shop or somewhere else.
And there's kind of a catch-22 with batteries, is that if you don't use them, they wear out. And if you use them, they wear out a little faster. So if you don't need a new battery yet, I wouldn't buy one yet, because if it hangs around for 6, 8, 10 months, then it's already losing some of its life before you've actually started.
All right, good advice. Okay, thank you. I'll just do that and not buy anything yet and just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing you can do is if your battery is removable, and if you're leaving it plugged in all the time,
take it out.
Take the battery out. Once it's charged, take it out. And then if you're going to go into another room with it, put it back in.
Oh, I've never done that, but maybe I should do that.
Not every laptop lets you take the battery out anymore, but if it does, that's one thing to try.
And if you're going to store your batteries for any length of time, discharge them to about 50%, and put them in the freezer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
And I generally like recommending either the OEM original batteries or a higher tier battery maker. One of the problems is that you'll find there are batteries that are $100, and you can buy the same battery for $10 on the big A word.
Right.
That $10 battery is going to be worth about 1/10 of its of what the real battery would be. Sometimes things are just too cheap because they're not well made. They don't have the overcharging circuitry built into them, so you can overcharge it and catch fire. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we recommend with something as potentially problematic, if not actually lethal.
Yeah.
As a it's interesting. I can't do this. All right. As potentially lethal as a battery, that it is not necessarily a bad idea to buy the real thing.
One of the airplane companies I follow, Flight Test, they just released a video showing a battery explosion, and then they tested one of the commercial battery recharging boxes. So you're supposed to recharge your batteries in this box. So if the battery fails, the box contains it. And it was pretty interesting to see. Yeah, the box contained it let some of the smoke out, but the big leaping flames it kept inside that box, and so it didn't burn your house down.
All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Jack from Pittsford, New York. What's up, Jack?
Hey, I think I'm doing something wrong. I got an older laptop. I don't even know what brand it is. I keep it plugged in all the time. My wife says, no, you're supposed to let it out, unplug it, and let the battery wear. So what do you guys say?
Well, as we just said, if you're going to leave it plugged in all the time, if you can take the battery out, do that.
Yeah.
If you cannot take the battery out, don't leave it plugged in all the time.
There is the battery manufacturer will give you the recommendations for their type of battery. But most of the time, it's that catch-22. You leave it plugged in and it stays charged. Some laptops will recognize you leave it plugged in all the time and not charge it fully. And then they learn your habits.
Yeah.
Same thing with phones. They learn your habits. So if you plug your phone into charge overnight and you get up at 9 to go to work and start using your phone again, the phone won't charge until 9 because it doesn't want to stay sitting there fully charged all overnight. But then on the other half, if you leave it charged all the time and never use it, the chemistry needs some action. You got to get those lithium ions moving, and so charging and discharging once a month or so is what Apple recommends for their batteries. But depends on your manufacturer and what they recommend with their batteries. So leaving them plugged in all the time is bad. Charging them, discharging them all the time is bad for different reasons.
Okay. Well, that's all I need. By the way, now I owe my wife $20.
Oh,
okay, well,
sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Tell her we expect our cut.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's batteries are one of those technologies that is so ubiquitous, we take it for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of danger in batteries, and you need to treat them with some respect.
Yep.
Again, I charge my phone to 80%, and on my phone, it's just an app that notifies me when charge reaches 80%, so it doesn't stop it automatically. Some phones, there are programs that will stop it automatically. You can, I think there are some you can get for laptops, although I haven't really looked into that in a while. And like I said, a lot of electric cars have you can set, how much how much of the battery will charge.
Yep.
And the recommendation across the industry is approximately 80%. Now, that obviously varies a little bit from battery to battery, but once you hit 80%, apparently that's when you start building up those dendrites, which are what eventually lower the capacity and eventually kill the battery. So charging up to 80%, I think everybody should probably look for a program for their phones that gives them that notification. Mine's very simply called Battery Charge Notifier. Wow.
Very creative.
Wow. And it's a blue icon with a white plug in the middle if you're looking for one. That's for Android. I'm sure there's a similar.
It's built into the iPhone.
It's built into the iPhone.
Yeah.
So,
but there are third-party apps. The biggest one is Coconut Battery that will manage and show you your battery charge state.
Nice. So, yeah, and if you can find something along that line for your laptop, it's probably not a bad idea to do that. Now, we were talking earlier about UPSs and how most of them use lead-acid batteries. Lead-acid batteries don't have that problem.
Yep.
So that's one of the reasons they use lead-acid batteries. They are charging constantly, but so what? It doesn't have an impact on them.
One of the newer things that's hitting the market right now, which are pretty powerful, are these new solar charging units.
Yep.
And it's maybe about, I'd say 6 by 8 in size, and they're about an inch thick, but they got solar panels on them, and you can charge it that way, just having it set right there, and you can plug in your devices into the Type-C connections and in USB. So say you are using your laptop out in the road and that, and your battery's starting to go, you can plug it into one of these, and they're not that expensive, and they'll power your laptop right on up so you can keep going for a few hours.
I've seen a lot of that with outdoor surveillance cameras. Where you don't have to charge the battery and or run electricity to your outdoor surveillance camera. They'll have a little solar panel on them to keep it working.
Right. And again, that's perfectly fine, except that if it's charging a lithium-ion battery, eventually it will kill the battery.
Yep.
And okay, I mean, that's just the way it works, right? We see that, you can get those little lawn ornament things or
Solar
whatever.
powered ones, 10 for $10, and they last 6 months.
Right. Or you buy one for $20, it lasts a year.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
But yeah, those will, and that's a large part of what the problem is. They have no management in them, management circuitry in them.
It's not that we don't get any sun here.
Well, it's not that. No, I mean, that's why they die so early.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
The lack of sun.
Yeah. But many of them don't need a lot of. It used to be if it wasn't in direct sunlight, they weren't charging.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way that was. But now they're becoming more efficient. Used to be they were 10% efficient. Now I think they're up to 20.
Solar panels are getting so cheap.
Yeah.
And so small and flexible, it's unbelievable.
The problem is when they do wear out they're not easily recyclable, or apparently they're not easily recycled.
Right.
So that's a big complaint about both wind turbines and solar farms, is that when they wear out, they usually just get buried in a landfill.
Right, and that's part of that e-waste issue we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier.
Because it costs more to recycle it than it does to make a new one out of ore that you've already dug out of the ground.
That's
which
right.
Doesn't make sense.
Right. But yeah, so one thing you want to do is be aware that if you're one of I had a phone that I charged every night, and it died after a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
My wife had the identical phone and only charged it, and then took it off the charger, and hers lasted years longer than mine.
Yep.
And it has a lot to do with, again, charge it to 100% and you stress out the battery.
Yeah. The EPA has a website on solar panel recycling and how to recycle them and where to recycle them. All right, EPA.
Nice EPA. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Ed from Central Pennsylvania. What's up, Ed?
Hey, a couple of questions for you. First of all, some time ago, you had mentioned some site where you could go to try out the various flavors of Linux. You had mentioned you could try them out, and you said something about the site was a little bit slow, but still it would let a person try them out. Could you tell me that site again?
Not off the top of my head.
Let's quickly search because we lost all our links. How to test any Linux distro without installing the Linux distro?
Distrotest.net, apparently.
That makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense. It's distrotest.net. Steve, we'll put a link in our site. We're rebuilding our link list.
The link is gone.
The link is gone.
Uh-huh.
Or at least on my side, I got a blank WordPress junk ad.
Oh yeah, sale on Amazon. Okay, we'll look into that. I apparently don't have an answer right now.
I found a make use of website on how to do this.
Well, a lot of the versions you can download, burn it to DVD, and put it in your DVD. Have your machine boot to the DVD drive, and it will allow you not to install but to test drive it.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now, I'm considering buying a desktop soon, and from one of the major manufacturers, and I have the option of getting Ubuntu instead of Windows, probably 11.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I remember you had mentioned something about have to be careful about the different versions of Linux. Is that a problem? Like, if I would get Ubuntu and I would want to go with, like, X Ubuntu, which you recommend, Nick, is that a problem? Or
No.
are they similar enough that I wouldn't?
It's not that you have to be careful. It's that you want to test the various ones. And the beauty of Linux, as opposed to Windows or a Mac, in Linux, you get to pick your user interface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read about that. I did a little reading online, and I see that some of these versions have those different interfaces. So
Right.
I'm interested in trying that out.
And you can, in fact, have multiple interfaces loaded simultaneously and set it up so that when you boot up, you pick the one you want to play with.
Uh-huh. That's great. And one other question for you. Now, you mentioned about backing up, and I have a Seagate 2 terabyte Backup Plus Slim. When I run it on my one desktop and ask it to stop it and to eject it, that's no problem. And, I go to the sys and it says...
All right, hold on. We got to take a break.
Okay.
Stay on the line, and we'll get to your question when we come back, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, Ed from Central PA, and you. It is 29 minutes after the hour. You are listening to the longest-running computer show in the known universe. That would be Sound Bytes right here on the Truly Great. And truly grateful to you that we are member-supported Jazz 90.1. See you on the other side.
Computer talk you can understand. More Sound Bites is next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
NBC News Radio, I'm Julie Ryan. The Pentagon says a second Chinese spy balloon is currently moving across Latin America. Correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer said details on the balloon out of Beijing are few and far between.
China also isn't saying who the balloon belongs to. They're saying it isn't military, but they're not saying why it was launched.
The news comes as the first balloon, which the Pentagon said doesn't pose a current threat to the U.S., continues to move over the central part of the country. Nearly 20 million people living in the Northeast are under wind chill alerts. Forecasters say a polar vortex sitting directly over Maine will create wind chills of 30 below zero in some parts of the region. Americans' confidence in law enforcement is hitting a low following the killing of Tyree Nichols by Memphis police. A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows just 41% of responders said they're confident police treat white and black people equally. Julie Ryan, NBC News Radio.
Think twice before adding wood ash to your garden. It provides minimal benefit with the potential of long-lasting harm to the soil and your plants. Hi, I'm Melinda Myers, horticulturist and gardening expert. Wood ash does contain significant amounts of potash, the nutrient that supports plant hardiness and disease resistance. Many soils have naturally high to excessive levels of this nutrient, or from years of using balanced fertilizers like 10-10-10. Adding more may not be necessary and may interfere with other nutrient uptake. It provides very little phosphate, no nitrogen, and increases the soil pH. High pH soils limit the availability of many plant nutrients, including iron, zinc, copper, and manganese. This can lead to iron and manganese chlorosis, a yellowing of the leaves, and decline in the plant. Take a soil test before incorporating wood ash into the garden, and don't use charcoal briquette ash that can be harmful to your plants. Check out our website for this and other gardening Jazz tips. 90.1 is supported in part by Summit Responsible Solutions, a manufacturer of organic, all-natural insect pest control products, including Summit Sticky Traps. Sticky traps can be used to manage pests on indoor plants and do not contain pesticides. Sticky traps are available at local and national garden centers and hardware stores. Information on how to control insect pests can be found at summitresponsibleSolutions.com.
Jazz 90.1 is supported in part by our members and by the great courses How to Grow Anything DVD series hosted by Melinda Myers. The Great Courses How to Grow Anything series consists of 4 DVD courses that provide gardening tips and information on food gardening, landscape design and care, container gardening, flower, tree, and shrub care, and more. More information is available at melindamyers.com. That's melindamyers.com.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Here's the latest Jazz 90.1 weather forecast.
A frigid start to the day across Rochester, Western New York, and the Finger Lakes, but the winds relax. And even though we will have some lingering areas of lake snow, primarily northeast and southeast of Rochester, the day offers up some improvement with clouds and maybe a break or two of sun behind the mid-20s. Temperatures will actually rise here for your Saturday night with a mostly cloudy sky. And the whiplash begins on Sunday as temperatures take a turn for the higher with highs in the low 40s and a few showers by night. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently right now we're up to a whopping 14 degrees out at the airport and 16 degrees here at Jazz 90.1.
Hi, this is Otto Bruno. Join me tomorrow from 12 to 2 on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 34 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bytes, and we still have Ed from Central PA on the line. Go ahead, Ed.
Hey, Dave. Hey, thanks. Yeah, what I was asking about, as I said, I had a Seagate Backup Plus Slim, which I use to back up my computers. Now, on my one computer, when I go to systrade to eject it, no problem. It says safe to eject, and the little light goes out of the Seagate, and I can hear the disk stops running, so I unplug it. Now, in an older desktop I have, it says safe to eject, but the light stays on the unit, and it still keeps spinning. Now, I've heard you have to be careful, about ejecting these, because if you don't do it right, you can damage them.
Right.
What I have heard that it's always safe to just turn off the computer, and then you can disconnect the Seagate. But
Well, power down the computer safely, not just turn it off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, I'm wondering why that is the case with these two computers. Like on the one, it does stop the hard drive, and the other it doesn't.
Are they both running exactly the same version of Windows?
Yes.
Is it possible that one is slower than the other?
Well, one is 64-bit. The older one is 32-bit.
It may simply not actually... Okay, this is a Windows thing. Windows sometimes lies to you. I know that's a shock. I hope you weren't driving.
I agree with you.
So it is very possible that Windows says it's safe to remove that drive, and it is not yet safe to remove that drive. It may still be writing or doing the cleanup work that it needs to do.
Have you waited longer to see if the light ever does stop?
A bit. Now, one thing you had said, Steve, like on this newer one, it says safe to remove, but it's like just a couple of seconds before the Seagate actually, stops. But
right.
On the other one, I've waited like a minute, but I don't know, maybe I have to wait several minutes.
Well, it depends on a lot. Okay, first, it depends on how much data you're moving. Secondly, it depends on the speed of the computer. Because remember, while the drive is the same, all the activity that the drive is doing, including updating the directory and all that stuff, is actually being done in the computer. So if that's slower on one machine than another, it will take longer.
It could also be, and I run into this a lot on my Mac, that something is still using the disk, and so it isn't safe to eject. And I get this message all the time, and Finder can't eject the disk because it's in use. And what's really, really annoying is it never tells you what program is using the stupid thing. So
and the amount of memory also in both the machines.
So usually when that happens, I end up shutting down the computer. All right, nothing's in use now, darn it.
Right.
Okay, all right. Hey, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, we
It could be something in the USB mass storage controller on the other computer.
We're delving into arcana here tonight. Today, it's batteries and hard drive directory stuff is in general dark voodoo, and often the answer is gotta wait, because there's no way to tell exactly what's actually going on under there, and different operating systems work in different ways and do different things, and yada yada yada, and so you often have to just by guess and by gosh the thing. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Bob from Henrietta, New York. Hi, Bob. What's up?
Good afternoon. Just a general question. When are people going to realize that battery technology just isn't there yet? I don't care if you're talking about computers, phones, cars, whatever. We don't have efficient battery technology yet.
It's
true. Trying.
It's gotten significantly better. We used to have lead acid batteries in our portable computers, and they lasted for an hour.
Right.
Now we have lithium batteries, and they last for 10 hours. So we're getting a lot better and a lot more efficient.
Yeah, but I got a lead acid battery in my car. Granted, that's too heavy for portable use.
Because it doesn't need to be portable.
I haven't had to replace it in 10 years.
Right. That's absolutely
because
right.
you only use it for 5 minutes a day when you start your car to go to work and when you start your car to come home.
Right. You use it for 10 seconds a day.
Yeah.
And yes, and the problem is, in many ways, battery technology is not kept up with other technologies. If they
That's
had,
a long shot.
yeah, if so they're getting better. There's new batteries that instead of using so many rare and conflict and toxic elements, they have a battery now that works on salt, and it's in the lab, but it's promising. And so companies have
promising to cost us a lot of money.
Well, that's a large part of it, right? I mean, the reality is that
Initially,
these people aren't going to These people aren't going to do anything that doesn't make them money.
And that kind of is where the money is these days in material science. So
Right.
If you're a young person looking at college or looking at careers, try to get into material science. If you can come up with a new battery, you're going to make a fortune.
Well, and let's face it, one of the things that Elon Musk is putting a lot of money into is battery technology for Tesla and for his rockets. So,
no, Musk is putting taxpayer money behind that.
Yeah, well, some are, but
he's selling his product to a company, and and NASA is buying some of his capability.
Right, on the rocket side, but on the Tesla side, he's putting the money in so that he can sell longer. One of the problems that everybody has with electric cars is range anxiety, which is ludicrous because electric cars these days get the same or more range than any gas-powered car around. But that's a separate issue.
And most people drive less than 20 miles a day most of the time.
Yeah.
But for the one trip you do need 4 or 5.
Then you rent a car.
Yep.
There's solutions out there. You don't. The average person, look, I looked at the statistics for Uber drivers. The average Uber driver drives 7 trips a night and an average of 5 miles a trip.
Yep.
You're not going to wear out an electric battery in that amount of time. Not for any car above a Twizy.
Yeah.
So,
how many vacations do you actually take in the 1 year term?
Right. Not everybody can use an electric car. I get that. But for the people who can, range anxiety is a non-issue.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, too, though, is when people go on vacations, quite often they're traveling by plane or train and then renting a car.
Right.
Because,
I just think before everybody tries to do everything electric and portable, wait for the technology.
Yeah. Well, then we're always waiting. It'll everything we have will always get better, and that's the nice thing about it.
In my case, I was looking at electric cars, and Lord knows I'm going to drive my car into the ground. But if I were to get an electric car, I wouldn't need to charge in public ever. I would put a charger in my home, a level 2 charger, which would let me charge overnight from empty if I got there. But generally speaking, I don't drive 30 miles in a day. So I could charge once a week and still have plenty of charge left.
Well, and that's where they're also coming out with the technology now of turning your roof on your car into a solar panel, which then turns around and keeps that charge in the battery.
Yeah, Aptera is doing that. Every surface on the car is it. And a friend of mine who lives in the middle of nowhere, his wife wanted an electric car, so they put a solar farm in the back 40, and they're charging that car costs them exactly $0.
I've got a customer that just put a solar farm in the back 40, so I had to figure out how to run 1,000 foot of Ethernet.
Well, there's a company. There's a company right here in Rochester right now that is selling solar roofing.
Yep.
So instead of having the solar panels, the roofing material is the solar panel itself, and you install it, and you get the tax credits, but you're then off the grid.
I agree with you, Bob. Battery technology isn't entirely there yet, but for most people, it's there enough. So it depends entirely on your use case.
But there's a big, strong push to push it on everybody.
Well, that's up to you, Bob. I mean, if you watch television and start dialing up and buying those turnip twaddlers, that's on you. They're always going to push you to buy things. What you have to do is resist if it's not for you.
I think so. California has, what is it, by 2035, all vehicles have to be electric?
Right.
I think that's a little...
That's a little overreaching. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You're not having a choice to buy that turnip twiddler or not. Anyways, I just wanted to point out maybe we ought to slow down until the technology's ready.
Well, I don't disagree.
Technology is the one thing that never slows down.
Yeah, right. Right.
Well, thanks. Have a good day.
You too, Bob. But I agree. We're seeing a lot of places putting in electric car chargers, and they work pretty well.
What's frustrating is that every brand car has their own charging plug. We don't have.
Well,
any,
most
enough,
of them have J177
yeah, they're starting to work on
or 9s or whatever that number is.
Starting on standards, yeah. I drive by Used Fuel Mall every morning, and there's the charging station out in front.
Right.
With I can see the different colors of the different charging stations on which one you would have to go to for your
Right.
brand of car.
Right.
And the one thing, though, I disagree with them, though, as far as the cell phones. The cell phones, the problem there isn't that the technology isn't there. They just keep trying to make the cell phone slimmer.
Right. If they
And
give
by
it an
making
extra eighth of an inch.
Yeah, if they made it a little bit thicker to make that battery hold a little more capacity, because folks are using their phones so much more than before. They're watching videos or they're, listening, streaming their music all day long and everything else. They need that battery life.
Yep.
And making it thinner makes no sense anyways, because usually most folks are putting a protective case on it.
Right. Well, I blame Steve Jobs. If it was never thin enough, ever. Anything he made was never thin enough.
Johnny Ive.
Yeah, okay, Johnny Ive.
Because when he left, everything started getting thicker. My laptop got thicker and added ports back after Johnny left.
Right, that's true. That's actually true. All right, we'll blame Johnny Ive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you have a phone that lasts 3 days or a phone that lasts 1 day, I'll guarantee you the difference is the thickness of the phone.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way it is.
The battery life, yeah. And the usage.
Yep. And the same with laptops. You're right, Steve. If you've got a laptop that's thin enough to make Johnny Ive happy, it has no battery life.
Yep.
But there's a limit to what people are willing to accept in their daily lives. If I'm gonna teach a class, I'm generally on battery, and so 2 hours of battery is probably enough for a 2-hour class. But if I'm teaching 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 classes, now I need a 10-hour battery.
Yeah.
So it's a very different. It depends on your lifestyle, and the same is true of electric cars.
Mm-hmm.
If you run around the city all day and charge in your driveway at night, in your garage, whatever, an electric car will do you just fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the sort of person who constantly takes long trips, yes, you cannot have an electric car at this time. Oh well. Now, on the other hand, there's a company called Canoo, Canoo, that's making some new cars, and one of them is it's gorgeous. The inside has a U-shaped seat on the inside. It's gorgeous. Anyway, the point is, it's got because there's no engine, the front is glass. Well, transparent. It's plastic. It's laminate. It's glass. So already, delivery people are saying, I got to have that, because they often have to pull right up to another vehicle on the curb, or they have to pull up to a wall somewhere, and the ability to see exactly what's in front of you so you don't run over a kid or a dog or whatever is a very good thing, and they're loving that idea. And that's an electric car, and they've done the math that says I can do a full day's run on a full day's charge.
We were just talking about this morning in our office, that it's kind of like the horse. 100 years ago, everyone had multiple horses and different kinds of wagons. And now horses are only for, luxury items that you go ride once in a while.
Right.
We'll probably end up seeing that with cars. That even today in big cities, a lot of people don't own cars because public transportation isn't enough. But personal ownership of cars is probably going to go down, because if you need to get somewhere, there's either going to be public transportation, or you call up whatever Uber becomes and go to where you need to go. And if you are going to take that 2-week vacation, you rent a car for that week.
Well,
and traditional ownership of cars is going to be the enthusiasts with the hot rods in the garage,
right?
Just like the people have the horses in the barn now.
And we see that if you take a look at a lot of older television shows that shows that happen in the past.
Mm-hmm.
People have a horse.
Yeah.
And where do they go? They go within horse distance.
Yep.
And if they need to go farther, they either have a buggy that they hook the horse up to, or they rent a buggy, or they get on public transportation buggies that take them farther.
Yeah.
And it's the thing that's changed in the world is that horse distance has gotten farther and farther and farther.
Yeah.
Because the horse of today, the car, can go farther and farther and farther.
Well, there's still all an alternative in between. Whether you want to go electric or gas, is just the hybrid, where you can
Right.
have both sides of the world.
Right.
Run on electric, and then if
For
I
30
have
miles.
go farther. If I'm driving city, it runs off the battery.
Was it
if it gets going on the expressway, it jumps up to the engine.
The Chevy Volt or Chevy Bolt that was doing that. It had like a small 3-cylinder engine that ran the generator that made the electricity that it drove on.
Right, and that makes sense too.
Was it the big train company, Conrail?
Conrail.
They talk about a 1 gallon of fuel can drive a 100-ton train car 100 miles because it's diesel electric. They have a big diesel motor generating electricity, and the train actually runs off the electricity.
Right. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Joe from
Waga, New York.
There we go. What's up, Joe?
So, a couple things I'm thinking of. One is the guy with the laptop and the not-so-well-performing battery. I would say get as many batteries as you can, with the proviso that you can easily swap them. Get as many batteries as you can afford, because I just love it when you can use a device on battery while another one's charging. So, your battery's going dead, you swap that out for the one that's been charging.
Yep.
You can run for a good long time.
Yeah, I used to have a phone that you could swap the battery in. Remember those? And I had I had 2 charging devices, one at work and one at home, and a spare battery. Boom. Yep, I get it.
The other thing I wanted to say is you've talked often in the past couple weeks about donating to software authors because it encourages them to keep on keeping on. Another thing I would say is please consider donating to what you might call public sites of the Internet. For example, I have personally donated to archive.org and the Wikimedia Foundation.
Yep.
They say that so few percentage of people donate to that, I could envision where they're in danger of not being able to operate anymore. Think of the scale of Wikipedia and what it must cost to maintain and actually do the service.
Yeah.
It's like, please, just like you considered donating to WGMC, consider donating to those sort of public utility websites.
I completely agree. I also contribute to both of those. And Jimmy, what's his name? Jimmy from Wikipedia. Jimmy something.
Jimmy Wales. Well, yeah, Jimmy Wales, yeah.
Jimmy Wales. He seems kind of almost pathetically grateful when I do. You get that, thank you so much. It's so wonderful. But
that is kind of a downside. Once they have your email address, they please. But thankfully for those 2 in particular, they don't do that too often.
Right. And Joe is completely correct. We all want everything to be free. Believe me, I get that. And we all prefer everything to be free. Believe me, I get that. But things ain't free, folks. And a few bucks here and a few bucks there from everybody means a lot to these people. Good points, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks. Have fun. Yeah, if you don't use archive.org or you don't use Wikipedia, then there's no reason for you to contribute to them except for altruism. And very few of us are at all altruistic anymore. But if you are a user of those things, it's in your own best interest. Why wouldn't you contribute? If you use them, you want them to stay up. If you want them to stay up, contribute. That's kind of the way that works. And so he's
no different than the shareware, or
right. It's no different than this station.
Yeah.
If you want us to stay on the air, you contribute.
Yep.
If you don't care, then don't contribute. And when we're gone, don't complain.
Same.
So, if you, as you're wandering around the internet, if you have the chance to throw a few, and we're not talking $50, $100, we're talking $10, $5.
Mm-hmm. Every little bit helps.
Even in these parlous economic times, pretty much everybody can afford $5 somewhere along the line, and it doesn't hurt to share the wealth a little bit if you've got it. So
I've been making my coffee at home for 2 months now, and I should be a billionaire, right?
Yeah, you should be by now. Exactly right. Exactly right. And you've stopped having avocado toast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're good to go. Absolutely.
Why don't I own my own house yet?
Right, right.
Yeah, right now the bank owns like 90% of my house.
Yeah. Been there, done that. I told you how angry I got. You got the coupons that you had to cut out and send in. And I got a book with one coupon on it. And I was so angry because I knew they'd made a mistake. They sent me some bad book.
Yep.
It took like 10 minutes for my wife to get through to me that this was the last payment. So I went from really angry to really happy.
Let's see. I only got 3 more years.
Nice. 3 more years or 3 more payments?
3 more years.
3 more years.
Well, you haven't moved in 30 years, right?
Well, that's just it. I moved into that house in 1982. So do the math. 41 years this year.
Wow.
Just past 40 because we moved in December 12th.
Now, what year was your house built
somewhere
in?
between 1880 and 1895.
Ooh.
We're not entirely certain
You're
because
older than mine.
Yeah, in those days the records were not necessarily exact, but it's somewhere in the late 1880s, it's somewhere around 1890, give or take 5 years.
Well, I was going through my file drawer, getting taxes stuff ready, and I happened to find the old survey map because my house was built in 1928.
Yeah,
and they show the farm fields.
Yeah,
and the reference points that if I was to go up by Donut's Delight, there's a marker there that would then they use for survey points, but how all that north was farm country, and they show a dirt path going that way.
Right.
It's like, whoa.
What's really interesting is at one point, the one house in the field was built around 1880. Then about 6-7 years later, they built another house, and then apparently they got confused as to which was which. Some years they're left right, and another plat they're right left, and it's just. I don't know if they renumbered things or I don't know what they did, but so we don't know which one is our house. So, fine. And then at one point they discovered that most of our neighbor's fence was on our property because somebody screwed up the survey. It's just, when you get the really old houses like that, it's 40 paces from the oak tree. Well, there's been an oak tree there in 100 years.
That fell down decades ago.
Exactly. So that's okay. We're cool about it. We don't mind. So, but yeah, that's the way that works. We still have what really makes me angry is we have servants' quarters in the attic, and I haven't found that servant in 40 years. I don't know where he or she is, but I'm a little angry about it.
Hiding on you.
Because there's some dusting that needs to be done. All right, that's it. That music tells us that this show is done for the week. It's another show in the books. That's right. You've been listening to 2 solid gold hours of sound bites. But we're done for this week. I want to thank Dave Enright. I want to thank Steve Ray. I want to thank every one of you who called in. I'm Nick Francesco. And again, you've been listening to the longest running computer show in the known universe, Sound Bites, right here on the Truly Great. And truly grateful to you that we are member-supported Jazz 90.1. If you're free, hop on over to soundbites.org/lounge tomorrow night at 9 o'clock and join us there. Otherwise, we will see you in just 166 hours. Be good to one another, will you?
Here's another I Love New York travel tip.
Valentine's Day means that love is